another fascinating weekend in the Premier League. All started with a 3-0 win for Crystal Palace against Spurs. A couple of goals on his debut for Odsonne Edouard. Arsenal finally got their first win of the season against Norwich City. Brighton, what a start to the season they've made. A 1-0 win away at Brentford. Bernardo Silva scored the only goal as Manchester City beat Leicester by 1-0. Cristiano Ronaldo back at Old Trafford. There was only going to be one result, and Cristiano Ronaldo scored twice as United beat Newcastle 4-1. Scoreless draw between Southampton and West Ham. Mikel Antonio sent off for West Ham, led on in that one. Wolves, an important 2-0 win for them away at Watford, while Chelsea were 3-0 winners against Aston Villa. 2 goals in that one for Romelu Lukaku. As we said, Liverpool 3-0 winners yesterday against Leeds. And the second half is underway this evening at Goodison Park. Scoreless between Everton and Burnley. Seamus Coleman captaining Everton after his injury scare for the Republic of Ireland. Pat Nevin is with us on this Monday evening. Good evening, Pat.
Good evening, how are you doing? Not in the best of microphones tonight. I'm on my travels just now, so apologies if it sounds a bit echoey.
It's alright. We won't ask for a song. We'll just go with the pure football analysis and keep it simple this evening. I wish it was, as always, just pure football analysis, but a big story this evening around events at Stamford Bridge at the weekend, and a video was posted on social media that appeared to show the Villa midfielder John McGinn was being subjected to sectarian abuse during the game against Chelsea. He was being called a Fenian bastard. He is a Scottish international, played for Hibernian before he made the move to Aston Villa. Chelsea have this evening come out in condemnation of this. I know as well that you've seen it and you've come out in condemnation. We just keep having these same conversations, it seems, though.
Yeah, I actually was driving down from Scotland to London for the Chelsea game tomorrow night, so I'm here in London now. I stopped off at a service station and I saw a picture of John McGinn, who happens to be one of my favourite players and was one of them before I actually moved down to England. But it has nothing got to do with it. The fact that those words were actually said, don't care who it is, who it's aimed at, it doesn't matter. It's utterly and completely unacceptable. So, you know, I don't actually tweet a lot, but I was just angry, and I immediately said, look, unbelievably unacceptable. This has to be the club will do the right thing, because I know what Chelsea are like. They will get right on top of it. They will say all the right things, and they will do the right things. They will try and find out who this human being is, inverted commas human being, and I posted that immediately. Within about half an hour, I'd spoke to the top people at Stamford Bridge, who said, yes, we're on it, don't worry, we're doing everything we can. They spoke to Villa. And it's great that the only positive out of it is the fact that, yeah, you've got this one, I don't want to say cretin, or better, you put your own sobriquet in there, saying this, but the fact that the club, the league, and possibly the law will come down hard on them, that's the way it's got to be. You're always going to have these people. They exist in a society, but they're not welcome. They're not welcome at football clubs. And certainly I'm delighted that English football, it happens to be Chelsea this, and it doesn't matter if it's Chelsea. Just come down hard and make sure you do and say the right things. And the only positive I can see out is the fact that they did the right things. And I can tell you for sure that guy is being searched and searched and searched for right now. And if it's possible to find them, they will.
We've seen, it feels as though we've seen again an increase in racist abuse and homophobic abuse, and now we've sectarian abuse. And we James McLean in studio about 18 months ago, where he was talking about the sectarian abuse that he received at grounds up and down the country, and we know how serious that became for James McLean, and his sense was it was treated differently, sectarian abuse, from other kinds of abuse. Would that be your sense as well, that for somehow it's not seen as being quite as serious?
No, I think it is seen as just as serious when it comes before people that want to speak about it. Funnily enough, I'd never been at a game where I'd happened to James McLean. Just so happened I wasn't at the games that he was playing at. And certainly if I'd have heard that, I'd have been very, very quick onto it. Again, it's totally and utterly unacceptable for that behaviour, wherever it is. There is a perspective to be had here. It isn't that common, the sectarian stuff that I can see. It's there, but it's not as common as the racism, which is still there. You get bits of homophobia now and again. You get all that stuff. We just need to keep on top of it all the time. My perspective is it's a million times better than it used to be, but it's still not good enough. So we keep on fighting the good fight, and that's what we'll continue to do. And I'm happy with doing that. I do say to people that if it's as bad as ever, that's just wrong. I'm afraid it's just wrong. I played 25, 30 years ago. It's not like that anymore. But it doesn't matter. That doesn't make it all right. That just means we're trying to move in the right direction. And every time it rears its head, we're on top of it. And that's what we're trying to do.
It's strange when you're at a game, and you're at a lot of games, and you're working at a game and you've got headphones on, and you hear afterwards of an incident and you wonder, should I have heard something at the time and commented at the time? But quite often it's one person or it's one section of the crowd. When you compare that to 25 years ago, when you compare it to the 80s, when you were playing, would you have been aware at times that there were things happening, things been said that were completely inappropriate, that was abusive?
Like constantly.
Right.
As in constantly. Running, I mean, I'm playing on the wing, I'm taking corners, I'm getting dogs abuse, I'm getting everything. You know, and and I get the lot. I mean, I can remember I get the sectarian stuff. I mean, being called Patrick, Kevin, Francis, Michael. I'm going to get a bit, right? I took it, and I kind of I shrugged my shoulders and ignored them and just thought, well, wait a minute, I almost look down on you if you're going to be like that. I also got stuff that could be xenophobic because it was Scottish. I also got, would you believe, well, not surprisingly, homophobic stuff because I look slightly different for some footballers. I had once read a book, so obviously I must be gay in their view, you know, these people that are as slug-brained as them. But I got the whole work, it's Semitic. And then people thought I was Jewish because they had a big nose. Now, to be fair, at that time, I knew it was wrong, but I knew I could take it, and it didn't really bother me. What bothered me was when they had to go at other people, like the black players on my team, or anyone who I thought was getting singled out for any unfair reasons. And it infuriated me at the time. And then it just wasn't acceptable to speak out about it. And I did. I spoke out all the time about it. I was regularly, and I was thought an oddball for doing it. I'm just doing exactly the same now as I've ever done. And it's just great that, you know, you're on the top of this. I've been talking to lots of media people today, and they're all on top of it. And that's brilliant. Because you know what? See, in the past, they weren't. And this is a positive step forward. So, yeah, let's stay angry. Let's stay annoyed. Let's keep on top of it. But don't necessarily say it's bad as it ever was, because it isn't.
It all moves so quickly now that, you know, Rio Ferdinand was in front of a Commons committee, I think it was last week, talking about the Euro 2020 final. And Rio Ferdinand, I think like everybody else, once the penalties were missed, you knew what was going to happen. And almost as quickly as the abuse started, the support started as well for the players, but the abuse was still there, and the abuse was left there for many weeks for the players if they went on social media. But the support is there, it seems, within the dressing room. There's good leadership in football now, both in the dressing room and outside the dressing room. When it was happening, when you were playing and you were talking to those other players in your dressing room, would you have spoken to them about support, about ways you could help? Would that have been a conversation that lots of people were having in the dressing room? Was it appreciated? How did those conversations go?
Well, it's very difficult now because, I mean, you'll be aware I wrote a book about this and it was out about 10 weeks ago that is really dealt with in some detail. So I think I'm going over old ground, and I've been doing this for many, many years. For a lot of people, it was swept under the carpet because that's what culture was then. There was a kind of latent racism sitting there. And I come from Glasgow. So sectarianism surrounded you all the time. It was just there the whole time. So, but I just could never accept it. But I was thought weird because I wouldn't accept it. So yeah, it was there. I had my ways of dealing with it, but I didn't think the other players, particularly black players in our team, when I was at Chelsea, they should have to deal with it. And they did. They had to deal with horrendous things then. Absolutely horrendous stuff. Week in, week out. But, you know, we started the fight. We pushed as far as we can, and we keep on pushing. And but it's like Sisyphus. You're rolling this huge big ball uphill, and, you know, it rolls down now and again, but you get back behind it and you roll it back up again. Oddly enough, you say there's a lot of support behind you. The sectarianism isn't, I don't find it like that. I don't find that like that. I mean, I've come out and spoke immediately about it today, and I've just got, I mean, I've flicked through my Twitter feed, I've got dogs abuse for that. I've got hammered for that.
Yeah.
So...
Well, that would very much go along with what James McLean would say, and his annoyance at the time at, say, the lack of support from his teammates. And we've spoken to a lot of his Irish teammates even who are aware that the second you back James McLean, that they are going to receive the exact same level of abuse, and a lot of them feel rightly or wrongly that when they're playing, they just don't think it's worth the hassle.
No, the people that are abusing me were the people that would be on James McLean's side. That's the difference. And that's the abuse that I've been getting, and I can consistently get, but I don't care because I will always just say what I feel. It will always be twisted. I think what you have to be guarded about is that societies, and all societies are like that. You get extremists in every area of society, and you can't be pushed by them. If you are pushed always by the extremists, and by the way, never argue with them. You're wasting your time arguing with the extremists. So don't do that. What you do is try and get fairness, try and get an understanding that you are just getting equality and fairness for everyone, and you're not siding with anyone. The extremists on the verges you're wasting your time with. And I mean verges, I mean one side, other side, and these are all sides. And I do not actually put one side above the other. I really don't. I never have. It doesn't matter, left, right, whatever. Don't care, religions, don't care.
Yeah.
There are extremists on either side. And if you're on the wrong side of them, you're going to get hammered. And I can tell you, I've been on the wrong side of both of them, and I get hammered. Fortunately, I can deal with it. But others, it's much, much harder.
Yeah, it certainly is. Just to finish up on this then, like you mentioned there that, Chelsea are investigating and they are going to go whatever way is needed to find this person. Like, is there anything the clubs can do to stop this? Like, because you say it's a representation of society that's ended up in these grounds.
That is the main question. It's a question that football fans, many will never ask, because I've been on the other side. I was chief executive of a club in Scotland, right? And just go through a game, and I hear an hour after the game, because as you say, you don't always hear everything, that there had been sectarian singing from our fans. And I'm going, what? Motherwell fans? Are you joking? And Celtic, we were playing it today, so we know what kind of sectarian singing it is. So I was moving heaven and earth to find out. And do you know how hard it was to find out, particularly in a time when you didn't have particularly good CCTV? And the club was being blamed. And we'd done everything. We had these anti-sectarian, anti-homophobic, anti-sexism. We had every programme in the world going. And the clubs just sit there. And can I tell you one thing about Chelsea? When they contacted me tonight, I tweeted. They didn't contact me because I tweeted. They just contacted me because they knew there was a lot going on with this, and they know I'm involved in Scotland, etc. They are furious beyond. They are steaming with anger, purely because they have done so many good things and worked so many good areas, and then you get the odd lunatics come on and do this, and then you get a lot of people going saying, oh, that's Chelsea fans are for you, or that's Liverpool fans for you, or that's whatever fans for you. And of course it's not. I know, every decent football fan knows the vast majority are nothing like it. I told a story earlier on today. Chelsea fans, this is classic, typical. In Scotland, you get all this, in Ireland you hear all this, again I use the word fiending, and you'll know more about the history than I do about it, even though I do have the Irish passport and all that. But I said to somebody down here, like, that sort of stuff, I'd heard one or two people sort of talking about that, and they went, yeah, I've vaguely heard. Now which side is which? We don't know. That's how knowledgeable these people are. So you throw these big cast iron things like, oh, these fans are like this. You've no idea. They don't care. They have no interest. The vast majority of them, it is nothing to them. And when it is something to them, they just can't stand it, and they think it's stupid. It's the People's Liberation, or People's Front of Judea against the Judean People's Front. It's that sort of stuff in their eyes. That's how they think of it. But see, we're in the wee bubbles of the sectarianism and the religion of your particular area. You think they're all thinking the way you do. They don't. They just don't. It's not the way they think about it. So it's trying to get it across that, football clubs have to try and keep on top of it, but they also have to have as perspective that if you have a small number that are encroaching into what is really your type of club, then you try and wheedle them out. That's what you're trying to do. When you've got a bigger problem and it's masses that are at that, well, that's a different thing. I don't think that's a problem you've got in England, really.
I'd imagine this, unfortunately, won't be the last time we're going to be talking about this over the coming months and years.
Can I say good? Because every time it turns up, talk about it. Because we can't change it until we keep on talking about it. And people like me will keep on coming on, and we'll go on and we'll talk away, and we'll do our best for equality and fairness, and people be able to be themselves and walk into a football ground and not get hammered this garbage in the ears. And people like me will also sit here and take it on Twitter forever or wherever. We don't care. We know we're right.
There is a live game on this evening. It's 1-1 between Everton and Burnley. Burnley went in front at Goodison Park 9 minutes into the second half. Ben Mee with a goal, but Michael Keane has just equalised in the last couple of minutes for Everton. So 1-1 there, 63 minutes gone. Seamus Coleman is playing for Everton. There was a concern about the injury, picked up in international duty, but clearly not too serious, thankfully. Liverpool yesterday, we heard the commentary, 3-0 winners against Leeds United, 100th goal for Mo Salah. But a bad injury for Harvey Elliott. Dislocated ankle. one of those injuries that we all remember from through the years. You see it once and you go, I don't want to see it again. Dislocated ankle, under a tackle from Pascal Struijk, who was eventually sent off, though initially it didn't look as though the referee was going to give a free kick. And of course this comes in the wake of Jurgen Klopp after the Burnley game talking about this directive to let the game flow by referees, that he feels it's wanting to go back 10-15 years to the way football once was, where men were allowed to be men and tear into tackles and do whatever damage they wanted to the skillful players. Is there a link between the two, or was this just a freak incident?
I wasn't sure it was a foul. I think he made a tackle and slightly missed time, so it might be a foul. Wasn't it sending off? And that's not anti-Liverpool before we get all that stuff in again. Sometimes it happens. In football, it happens. Almost every mega serious injury I've ever seen in a football field was just a mistake. It wasn't someone trying to deliberately do somebody. It's so unusual. I can remember, I'm trying to think who it was. Liverpool were involved in it a while back as well. Was it Salah in that European game? The shoulder one. I'm trying to think.
With Sergio Ramos, and the Champions League final they were beaten in. And
the amount of people say to me, that was deliberate. Ramos is get lost. Have you ever kicked a ball in your life? No chance. That was not a deliberate trying to smash his shoulder. He may have tried to get close to him and being strong. But see the nonsense you hear about that, and we've just so far mentioned two Liverpool players. That's just a coincidence.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone said that Struijk went out, or how could he go out to try and injure Elliott in that way. But that there's a looseness to the tackling now because players think they're going to get away with it because referees aren't putting them up for as much.
Hey, I will listen to that argument, and if that was one of those tackles, I would say fair enough. But I think you only find that over a course of period of time, over a season. If you make snap judgments after one tackle or one bad injury, I think you make bad judgments when you make decisions over that. You have to look at over a period of time. And certainly you don't want to go back to the vicious, really vicious stuff that was allowed. I used to get plenty of it myself. In fact, last time we talked about this, I put a little clip of me getting tackled, and honestly, people couldn't believe it actually happened, and it was like an assault, and that's not acceptable. That's not what people are arguing for. What people are saying is, because any touch was then greeted too far the other way, people squealing and screaming when they weren't hurt, rolling about, pretending to be injured, cheating, all that sort of stuff, they couldn't let the game go on that way. It was turning too many people off, and rightly so. And the cheats, in simple terms, were winning. You had to look back on it. So there's less people throwing themselves to the ground, and it may well be that there is a middle ground to be found as time goes by. But certainly I think a change had to be made because it got stupid and it got ridiculous. People were saying this, if there's any contact, it must be a foul. If there's any touch in the box, it must be a foul. No, it doesn't. It's contact sport.
I mentioned Mo Salah, 100 Premier League goals for Mo Salah, fifth fastest, 162 games. There's been a conversation over the last couple of years about the Liverpool front three and their various levels of importance, and you'd meet a cohort of Liverpool fans who feel Firmino was the key man to linking the three for his sort of on-scene work rate. Sadio Mane actually was the most talented of the three. Is there an underestimation of the brilliance of Mo Salah?
Not from me. Definitely not from me. I was thinking about it the weekend. It's going to be some Premier League this season. It's going to be amazing this season. If you think about it, the big guns have turned up early, haven't they? You look at Lukaku at Chelsea. Salah's turned up. He's got his 100th goal. And you look at Cristiano Ronaldo walking onto the scene as well. And you're thinking, whoa, the big teams have turned up. They're all stronger. And the big guns have turned up. And they're all looking fantastic as well. And they've all started well. And I put Salah in there for a reason. Because he's right up there. And he is completely and utterly the totem. Now, to be fair, Van Dijk is probably as important to Liverpool as he is, but of the front three, I mean, it's not denigrating the other two or anyone who plays them at all, but he's fabulous. He was rightly Player of the Year, and in the English Player of the Year, because he was the best player by a distance. And you can talk about him alongside De Bruyne and people like that because he's that good. The others, they're fantastic players, but come on, really? I understand the argument. Firmino, because he was a link and he was selfless and all that sort of stuff. And, I totally and utterly understand that Sané's got that sort of... Sadio Mane's got that sort of stuff as well. However, this is genius we're talking about.
Right.
The numbers are absolutely off the scale. And he's right up there with one of the best players in the world. And that you don't say that lightly.
And And technically, when you look at him, because his numbers, his goal scoring numbers are exceptional, and he's finished as top scorer. He scored more goals in the 38 game Premier League season than anyone else a few years back. He got 22 last season, but quite often he plays out on that right wing. He sort of lurks out there, keeps quiet, tries to hide out a little bit. In terms of his actual technique, his close control, his dribbling ability, like you're mentioning the word genius, how good is he when you look back over Premier League years, comparisons with other players?
Yeah. It's kind of hard though, but see, one of my gauges of a guy who had used the word genius, right? If he does something, bleeding hell, I've never seen that before, or I never saw that coming, I wouldn't have considered doing that. And it's not actually that often that happens. It happens quite regularly with him. There's a couple of finishes last season, the season before, where he took volleys at the wrong angle, but they ended up in the top corner, and you're thinking, nobody else can do it. It was a near post one from about 20 yards, and you're thinking, nobody would have considered shooting from there. Yet he levels it in the top corner and takes it at a different time from everyone else. So there are things that he can do that nobody else, you're talking possibly apart from Messi, can do. There are certain specific things that he can do that no one else can do. So that makes you ultra special. And that's why I put him up there with... And I don't go by numbers, I'll be honest with you, because there's plenty of players that didn't score that many goals, but the creativity was phenomenal as well. But think about it, his creativity is fantastic. And he's doing it against quite often being marked by two players as well. Now he's up there. He's up as good as just about anyone. I mean, him, Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, of the modern age, Hazard was there for a while as well. Of the creative players, there's not many better than them that we've seen in the last 10, 15, 20 years.
No great surprise to see Cristiano Ronaldo get a couple of goals on his return to Manchester United. A couple of questions on his role within the team, though, because we know he's going to score goals. We know as many games as he plays, he's going to score as many goals. United played with just the one holding midfielder on Saturday at home against Newcastle. So it was just Nemanja Matic. It wasn't Fred and McTominay, who I know is out injured, but they allowed Pogba in there. Do you think when they come up against the other top 5, 6 teams, they can do that? And also, where does Marcus Rashford fit into this side when he gets back fit?
Yeah, that is the toughest thing if you look around the quality of players they've got. Remember the other thing, there's going to be a lot of rotating. This season's going to be incredible for it. The Champions League games that they've got, there's going to be a lot of England games, international games as well. So the Rashford, etc., they'll get their opportunities. But you're right, there's no space. I see the same thing at Chelsea. To some degree, you see it at Manchester City as well. There isn't enough space to get them all starting 11. But is there a starting 11, really, anymore with these top teams? They have to rotate it, or they want to rotate it that off to keep everyone sharp. Ronaldo won't start every game. No chance. Absolutely no chance he'll start every game. So you'll use him sparingly at the right times. It may well be that he's an impact player. It may well be that he's asked to play a little bit wider sometimes. You can adapt the system. I think you make a good point there. My memories and my thoughts on Manchester United, they're an unusual club. They're a bit like Celtic in Scotland. The expectation and the demand is you attack. And, Man United fans more than anyone else, maybe Liverpool as well, this attack song that they sing. There's a reason for that, because there's a culture there. And see when they go with one sitting midfielder, see even though they lose it, I'm applauding them. I really am. And they'll be called naive sometimes if they get done because they've only got one. But that should be Man United, shouldn't it? That should be the team that goes and attack, particularly at home. Yeah. I mean, they're a great breaking side away from home. They're a brilliant breaking side away from home. And they showed that last season. And they were better away from home than they were at home last season. However, United, Old Trafford, full, standard of players they've got, it's got to be attack.
Pat, we're tight on time, unfortunately. Great stuff as always. You'd be glad to hear, though, quite a turnaround at Goodison Park. 3 goals in the space of 7 minutes for Everton. Michael Keane, Andros Townsend and Damari Gray. Didn't spend a lot of money, but they're delivering the good. Townsend and Gray, and Everton lead Burnley by 3-1. Great stuff as always, Pat. We'll talk to you next week. Quick break and then we're back with Vinnie Perth and Stephen Doyle.
Football on Off the Ball.
Tubs and Tiles, sale now on. Huge savings on quality tiles and bathrooms. Plus, with our 3D bathroom design service, you can get your dream bathroom for less.